If you're just starting your violin journey, these 3 essential tips will set you up for success, covering posture, sound production, and intonation. Your posture significantly impacts your feeling of comfort and also your ability to produce a good sound on the violin. Adjust the violin to suit your body rather than forcing your body to adapt to the violin. The violin should be positioned in such a way that enables all of the playing movements to be executed comfortably and naturally. You can tailor your setup and equipment to suit your needs. Experiment with different tools like shoulder rests, or pads or sponges, and find what works for you. Also things like the chin rest. You can get chin rests that are in slightly different positions and different heights. And ultimately you want to be able to hold the violin comfortably without feeling like you're straining or tensing any muscles unnecessarily. Stand tall with your feet roughly shoulder width apart. This provides a stable foundation to carry out the various movements of violin playing. The violin can rest naturally on the left shoulder, and the head gently rests on the chin rest. A quick tip regarding the chin rest is, despite its name, you don't actually have to contact the chin rest with only your chin. A lot of people actually find it more comfortable to contact the chin rest a little bit more on the jaw, the side of the jaw, just about here. Okay, and no position on the violin is entirely static or rigid. There's always a little bit of scope for movement depending on what's comfortable in the moment. Another point in relation to posture is, when bringing the violin to the shoulder, make sure that you don't bring your body to the violin. Make sure that you bring the violin to your body. So what I mean by that is, when you're bringing up the violin, make sure that you're not sticking out your head or reaching towards the violin with your neck. Stand nice and neutral and bring the violin to your shoulder and find a comfortable position. And the final tip in relation to posture is to remember to breathe normally. A lot of us tend to restrict our breath while playing, especially if something feels a little bit difficult. So right from the beginning, it's a really good habit to consciously pay attention to your breath and ensuring that it stays steady and normal while playing. At its core, sound on the violin is created through friction. When the bow hair contacts the string and when the bow is drawn across the string, friction occurs between the hairs and the string, causing the string to vibrate. And as the string vibrates, those vibrations travel down through the bridge and throughout the instrument to give us the sound. This is an important concept to keep in mind when working on sound production. To produce a beautiful sound on the violin, 3 key elements need to be balanced. Those are bow speed, bow pressure or weight, and sounding point, which is the exact location of the bow on the string, which we'll get into in a second. Bow speed refers to how quickly or slowly you draw the bow across the string. It's probably one of the most powerful factors in changing your sound on the violin. The faster you draw the bow across the string, the bigger the sound you'll produce. The slower you draw the bow across the string, the smaller the sound you produce. So depending on what type of sound you want, you can consider the speed of the bow. Bow pressure refers to how much weight is transferred through the right arm into the bow stick. Too much bow weight will squash the sound, and too little bow weight will make the sound thin and whistly. So it's about balancing with the perfect amount of weight for the type of sound that you want. The third variable in relation to the bow is the sounding point. And sounding point just means the specific location of the bow on the string between the bridge and the fingerboard. You can think of a sounding point like a lane on a road. So you can be maybe in lane 1, which might be closer to the bridge, and lane 3 might be in the middle, and lane 5 a little closer to the fingerboard, and you have the other levels in between. Something to be very aware of in relation to sounding point is the string is much tighter, much tougher nearer the bridge. And you can test this by pressing down with one of your fingers close to the bridge. You can feel the string is very tight. Whereas if we do the same thing a little closer to the fingerboard, the string feels much softer. So depending on which sounding point you choose, you'll need to balance the correct amount of speed and pressure for that sounding point. And bearing in mind how tough the string feels at that sounding point will really help you to find the correct weight and speed for that sounding point. Intonation is one of the biggest topics for those interested in the violin. To play in tune might seem overwhelming, but with the right strategies, it eventually becomes second nature. Improving intonation starts with training your ear. I would recommend starting out with training your ability to sing a major scale, both ascending and descending. And once you can comfortably do that, you've a pretty solid foundation for being able to identify when your pitch is not quite right while playing the violin. So once you develop your ability to sing a major scale out loud, you'll start to develop what we call an inner ear, which is your ability to hear pitches in your head while playing. And that's an important thing to train, as that's what's going to guide your fingers ultimately into the right places while playing the violin. There are lots of apps and online tools, and I'm sure there are many videos on YouTube which will teach you how to sing a major scale, and I'd recommend looking into that. I'll post a few resources in the description of this video to assist with that. Aside from training your musical ear through singing, there are also very practical strategies that can be used while playing the violin to help anchor your tuning. So one of the most powerful ways of doing this is to compare notes to open strings. Or in other words, use your open strings as reference points to adjust your tuning. In other words, whenever you play a note that matches one of your open strings, either G, D, A, or E, provided your violin is in tune, which it should be, then it provides a very good comparison for you to adjust your finger to match the tuning of the open string. And you can go back and forth between the open string and the finger that you're tuning until you're happy that they match perfectly. These tips in relation to posture, sound production and intonation will provide you with a solid foundation at the beginning of your violin journey, and will hopefully help to propel your learning to take it to the next level. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, I would appreciate it, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll answer them as best I can. Thank you very much for watching.